For the last month, I've been developing a list of camera tips and tricks to help anybody level up their filmmaking skills. This includes the basic stuff like how to frame a shot and how to use a tripod, while also covering camera tricks to add depth, create story, and enhance any visuals you need to get. I'm Jesse, and whether I'm filming myself, that stuffed frog I've had since I was like 8, or anything else in between, I'm going to show you today just how I do it. With practical tips to improve your cinematography so it does not look like you're taping your iPhone to a tree to get the shot that your heart so desires. Everything I'm getting ready to teach you, you can practically start doing right now. So grab a box of water or a nice cup of popcorn, sit down, and enjoy this video. The first practical tip I have for you is mastering the rule of thirds. This is what filmmakers and videographers call those lines going down your camera's LCD screen. You can use these lines to help frame your shot in a variety of ways, depending on what you want. For instance, for a symmetrical shot, you can place your subject in the center of these lines right there. Or if you want your shot to feel off balance, you can place your character here. There are tons of different ways you can use the rule of thirds to tell your story, so play around with it and figure out what you like for your shot. Depending on what kind of camera you have, you might be able to download an app and control the camera through your phone. This makes filming yourself just about a million times easier. Personally, for me and my Sony camera, I have this app called Creators app, and I can do a ton of stuff in here, including control my camera directly. This means I can pull the focus. This means I can set a shot to go into manual focus mode after I figure out exactly where I need to be. You can also change the ISO, aperture, and pretty much any other camera setting you might need to change, which is why this is super helpful. This is actually what I used to film myself in all the shots for this video, which is why I absolutely think if you can, download an app to help control your camera. Another solid tip for getting awesome shots is by using different camera angles. This can include the basic wide, medium, and close-up shot, but it's also important to get a variety of other shots too. For instance, if you're recording a simple clip of somebody walking, you could just record a medium shot and then maybe cut to a close-up. But a more creative way of filming yourself could be by utilizing lots of different shots, such as of somebody's feet walking, or maybe using different focal lengths so you feel like you're watching your character from a distance, or even high angles to mix it up a little bit. There are tons of different shots you can use to creatively tell your story, so keep your eyes open to any opportunity. The more you do this and the more shots you actively look for as you're filmmaking, the easier it will get to find more creative shots, like shooting through a trash can to frame your shot. Investing in a decent tripod is also not a bad idea. For years, I had this cheap $20 one and it worked fine, but there were just some shots that I couldn't get with a cheap one versus if I had bought a more expensive tripod. Once I buckled down and bought a more expensive tripod, I noticed a huge difference in the types of shots I was able to get. This is the kind of thing that if a cheap tripod works for you and you don't have any complaints, then I don't see a reason why you have to go out and buy a new one. It took me years to buckle down and finally buy an expensive tripod, but now that I did, I don't know if I could go back to having an old cheap one. Hello. Do you feel scared? Uncomfortable, perhaps? That might be, 1, because of the music, but 2, the lighting. What about this? I'm talking in the same sultry voice, but suddenly this is much less culturally acceptable. Suddenly I'm much more of a weirdo. Okay, I can't do that anymore. Does lighting actually make a big difference? Well, yes, you just saw lighting actually does make a huge difference because the camera shot was the exact same. The only difference was the lighting. And now, because you saw I was talking in the same voice, but the lighting was the same, you can see that something was clearly not right. This is why lighting for the mood of your short film is such a fantastic way to up your storytelling and filmmaking skills. And if you can do it solo, kind of like I've done right here, then you can be even more dangerous because that way, when you're working on a film, you don't have to rely on other people to help you out with the lighting and stuff. Knowing that you can do it yourself just makes you even more confident when you're working on a film. Great filmmakers not only know how to add light to create a shot, but also how to remove light to form a shot. And adding shadows to your shot, for example, is a fantastic way of creating depth in the image that you're trying to create. The best way to do this, if you have this as an option, is number 1, figure out how you want to light your subject. You could go with a key light about 45 degrees away from him, that's how I'm being lit right here, or you could go for the backlight shot to give you much more of a mysterious look. The next thing you should do if you're figuring out how to light your shot is play with keeping certain areas in the shot in darkness and certain areas in light. A fantastic cinematic shot has certain areas in light, but also certain areas in the darkness. This creates a dynamic contrast that looks really, really cool on camera, and that's what you see in a lot of cool Hollywood movies as well. Another thing to keep in mind when you're lighting a shot is how hard you want the light to hit your subject's face in the shot. A quick example right now this is pretty soft light. However, if I took the diffusion down that I have and I light myself with this, number one, I'll have to fix the exposure in post, but also this is very, very hard light, and I'm willing to bet that right now this part of my face is in complete darkness. But then again, if I put the diffusion back, it's much, much, much more evenly lit. All that to say, shining the light directly onto your subject provides really, really intense lighting, maybe for super intense scenes. Kind of like the spooky shot earlier, I didn't have any diffusion going onto my head because I wanted that to be intense lighting. And adding diffusion to a light softens it to give you much more of a soft, natural look. Okay, so now you should have a good understanding on good shots you can use for your short films or when filming yourself, and also a good idea on how to light certain shots. Can you even see me? There we go, now you can see me. The final tip is arguably the most important, having good audio. It's one thing to get decent audio when you have a giant crew and you're filming a short film, but if you're filming just with yourself, it becomes exponentially more difficult to have great audio. The solution? Lav mics. There are actually quite a few pros when using a lav mic instead of a traditional shotgun mic for your short films or even for your YouTube videos. For one, you can hide a lav mic really, really easily when it's on the actor, and that also catches really consistent audio, versus if you're using a shotgun mic, it might be inconsistent because the boom mic operator might get tired and wave it up and down, versus when you put a lav mic on an actor, that lav mic stays right where it is, so you don't have to worry about it moving around and not catching consistent audio. Here's the best way I found to mic somebody up for a short film where you're going to capture crisp audio while also hiding the mic from the camera. This is mainly for if the person in your short film is wearing a plain t-shirt, kind of like I'm wearing, and you don't want to clip the microphone right here where you can see it, but there's not really anywhere else to clip it. The first thing that you're going to do is put them in a tank top. Yes, just like that. Make sure that the tank top is tight on the body. That way when you clip the microphone to it, it does not wiggle around, because that can give you a lot of other audio issues. You're also going to want to put some kind of wind protection cover on the microphone. That way, if whatever shirt they're wearing on top of the tank top rubs against the microphone, it does not sound like a cat trying to claw its way out of a trash can. I would also recommend putting the microphone right in the center of the chest near the sternum, because that's where you get really crisp audio. One thing to keep in mind though is that the thicker the shirt, the worse the audio quality will be, so don't wear a super thick shirt over the microphone. Try to make it a thinner shirt, that way the audio quality will sound better. And there you go, that's it. That's how you can capture really crisp audio while also hiding the microphone from the camera. And now for the cons. There really is only one main con that I think is worth talking about for the purpose of this video, and that is the fact that you are going to get slightly less high quality of a sound if you use a lav mic versus if you use a shotgun mic. The audio quality is going to sound a little bit less natural. Now, for the purpose of a $50 million Netflix budget movie, that isn't that fantastic. However, for the purpose of your own short films or my own short films or YouTube in general, you're not really going to hear a big enough quality difference for me to think that it's worth using a shotgun mic versus using a lav mic if it's easier to use the lav mic. Plus, nowadays, lav mics have actually gotten so good, even if you're comparing the two audio back and forth, you're really not going to hear a big difference. And on top of that, you can actually edit audio anyway to where you can make it sound probably just as good. The point being, the decrease in audio quality for me is not a big enough reason for me to not want to use these for my short films. I think I will always use shotgun mics for certain things. However, now that I have the option of using lav mics, I certainly think that this is now my go-to form of audio. And there you go, countless tips and tricks to film yourself looking cinematic. If you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're still watching right now, then you clearly hopefully did, then you can watch another one by clicking right here, and also subscribing by clicking that button right there would also mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and God bless.